And I'd like to thank you, first of all, on the double, A, for allowing me to be here at all, and B, for bringing me in far earlier than I could reasonably have expected to be. I'm actually going to be speaking in the Dáil, hopefully on some of these self-same issues on the pre-European Council statements shortly. So apologies if I have to leave straight away after receiving your answers. I very often try and understand these things through the prism of the SDGs, because they're, you know, a multifaceted, cross-departmental way of understanding these things. And it was said of COVID that we lost 10 years of progress on the Sustainable Development Goals. And I just have to wonder how much more we're losing due to the conflict in Ukraine. And the ones that jump out, of course, like Goal 1, no poverty. How quickly we're travelling backwards on this. Goal 2, zero hunger. And then Goal 5, gender equality. And Asalama said it's always women and girls who suffer the most in these conflict situations. I'll try to be reasonably brief. I suppose I'll outline 2 concerns that I have, and then I'll ask 3 questions of you. I mean, two of the concerns, they've been outlined already. There's a real concern here that our overseas development aid spend will be directed towards our Ukrainian response. And I think a very clear message has to go out in terms of pre-budget preparations and all of those things, that we must retain a significant proportion of our overseas development aid for that work in least developed countries that I think we can be rightly proud of in Ireland. The second concern I have is that an emergency response, and an emergency response is absolutely required in the Horn of Africa. And Colin, I fully accept what you're saying about if we spend early, we'll spend less. But we are at a point where an emergency response is absolutely necessitated. But we have to make sure that that doesn't undercut our long-term response, which again is something that Ireland can be rightly proud of in terms of our overseas development aid spend. And we can't afford to lose that type of progress, because in the longer term, that's what we need to be doing. We need to be building capacity in our partner countries, particularly around, you know, social protection measures, aspects of gender, all of those things. We can't afford to lose that progress. So the 3 questions I would ask may not be 100% for our own budget preparations. I think one of the great failures of COP26 was loss and damage. Ahead of COP27, which will happen on the African continent, what moves would you like to see emanating from the Irish state in terms of preparing the ground for something significant and meaningful in terms of a loss and damage facility? Second question is related in a sense. Where can we progress on climate finance? You know, so not just to leverage our own overseas development aid spending. How can we build a climate finance facility that's going to be fit for purpose to do the job? And thirdly then, how can we leverage that UN Security Council seat? And I'm acutely aware that we hold the pen on the conflict and hunger file. And has there ever been a time where that has been more pertinent and more important? And then I suppose a fourth one, I've talked a little bit about gender. I mean, there must be an emergency response, and that's probably a blanket response. Is there anything specifically we should be doing in terms of gender, in terms of tackling what we're seeing unfolding in those least developed countries at the moment? And thanks again, Chair, for bringing me in early on those, to put those questions.
Thank you.